As soon as you get your income covered, stop trying to get income and start focusing on building wealth. How can I get enough money to have my Lamborghini? Or how can I get enough money to pay the rent on my jet? But that's not wealth.
This is The Fighting Entrepreneur, the podcast dedicated to entrepreneurs looking to change the world. Learn how to start, build, and scale a business in today's highly competitive business environment. Here's your host, The Fighting Entrepreneur, Anik Singal.
What's up, you crazy fighting entrepreneurs? Welcome back to the Fighting Entrepreneur Podcast. This is your favorite person, Anik Singal, your host. And we got a doozy today. We got an amazing guest. So the title of today's episode is How to Own Companies, Make Money, and Never Work in Them. Never have a job. Whew, that's like every entrepreneur's dream come true right there. And I'll tell you this, our guest today has mastered this very trade. And the reason I know this is how our guest today, okay, Roland Fraiser, made his way to our podcast. Because I'm friends with him, and I'm friends with him on Facebook. And one thing I can't seem to figure out is how the man is never in one place for more than 3 days. He travels and stays at the best hotels, so he's taught me how to hack my way into really great rooms at hotels. He stays at the best penthouses, dines at the best places. He's always traveling. He goes to Alaska. He goes to, he goes to the most, not Alaska. It was, you went to Iceland or Greenland? Iceland, like all these random places. And I'm sitting here wondering, the man owns like 17 companies. How in the world is he so free? I own one and I'm like, working my butt off. So I decided what better place to ask this question and learn than the podcast so you guys could learn alongside. Now, remember, go to anikpodcast.com, A-N-I-K podcast.com for any of your show notes. If you're on YouTube, come on, hit subscribe right now. Click the little bell icon, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment, engage with us throughout this episode. Make sure you tell everybody you know about the Fighting Entrepreneur Podcast. But now, before I tell you about my personal story with Roland, I just really want to read this friggin' intro because it's that damn impressive that I'm going to read it. I rarely do this, but rarely do I have this impressive intros to read of my guests. So, Roland Fraiser founded, scaled, and sold 24 different businesses ranging from digital commerce to consumer products to industrial machine manufacturing companies. I don't even know what that is. With adjusted sales ranging from $3 million to $337 million. Correction. He just told me right before we started. It's not $337 million anymore. It's $4 billion. I don't know how the hell you take a 10x leap like that, but we will find out throughout the podcast. He's currently CEO of the War Room Mastermind, which is considered our industry's by far the number one mastermind out there. He's a principal at digitalmarketer.com. We know about Digital Marketer. Ryan Dice is the CEO of it. Traffic and Conversion Summit. Everyone knows that. I don't know how many thousands of people go every year to that now. Praxio.com, Platter.com, TrueConversion.com, Real Estate Worldwide. Man. Okay, so through War Room, Roland advises over 150 companies on digitally centric customer acquisition, monetization, referral, retention, revenue. Okay, bottom line is basically this man is a Superman of businesses. And so that's what I summarize from this crazy intro. My personal relationship with Roland literally began, I don't know how the heck we became friends on Facebook. Have we even met Roland yet in person?
Yeah, we've met a few times.
Okay.
But you're way, way bigger star than I am. So I just kind of, go and
Roland, do you want to trade? I'll trade. You can have all stardom. I want this. I want what's on this document.
What you wish for.
That's true, right? Grass is always greener on the other side. But no, honest to God, the way I got just super duper crazy impressed with Roland is I watch on Facebook. I engage a lot with him. I got to leave comments and stuff and like his stuff and tag him. So Facebook is courteous enough to show me a lot of his posts. And so I just got intrigued by true living by example, right? So here's the deal. So many entrepreneurs and so many of the younger generation, if you're listening, listen up. You post pictures of yourselves and your Lamborghinis and your Ferraris and your private jets and your helicopters, and you think that makes you super cool. And it does in your little age group. But as you get older, you start to realize that's not what matters. And so what I was seeing Roland do is not brag. He was just showing what he's doing. And it wasn't just once or twice. It's not like he went out and rented a Ferrari and posted a picture. Actually, I've never seen him post a picture with a fancy car. It's always fancy food. It's always fancy places. It's always hotels. And it's like every other week, right? It's consistent. So you get to know from the consistency that the man's not making stuff up. He's not lying. So that was like how, in my mind, Roland, you build credibility. It was just a consistency of your lifestyle. And then from there, I messaged him once, never expecting a response. And the guy like replied and super nice and explained me exactly what I wanted. What I wanted to know was how he was travel hacking his way into such fancy suites and hotels. And he explained it. And from there, we ended up talking. And recently we got on the phone and I just asked him like, hey, can you be on this podcast? And he said he would be more than happy to do so. So Roland, thank you very much for being here. I'm excited, man. I got pages and pages of things I want to ask you. But Roland, we do have a bit of a tradition here at the Fighting Entrepreneur. So if you don't mind raising your right hand for me and just repeat after me. I, Roland Fraiser, do solemnly swear.
I, Roland Fraiser, do solemnly swear.
To tell the truth and nothing but the truth.
Tell the truth and nothing but the truth.
And reveal my $4 billion in secrets.
And reveal my $4 billion in secrets. If that's all that you want, then we'll stop there.
Man, so awesome. So you know what? We're going to dive right in. We're going to go into round number one. Again, most people who listen to this podcast know that I'm not big on story, but I don't understand how to talk to you without first learning your story. And I'm not sure I know the entire background. I know you told me once you come from a background in law, and I don't understand how you went from that to this. So Roland, who are you, and do you save kittens at night, and are you Batman? So let's move right into round number one. Okay, round number one. Are you Batman?
I am not Batman.
Are you sure?
But Ryan Dice did introduce me at one of the Traffic and Conversion Summits as his personal Batman. So I thought that was pretty fun.
That is cool. Hey, there you go. So yeah, man, tell me a little bit about where you started and how you've come to where you are today.
Yeah, I started in real estate. I got my real estate agent's license when I was 18 and was selling real estate. I was looking to see how I might leverage that up because I didn't like the idea of pounding on doors to get listings one by one. So I hooked up with some developers because I figured they have lots of houses to sell, and that seemed like a good leverage point. As I started working with them, I found out more how they do their business, and they said, we raise money and we do that through this thing called a syndication, which is a limited partnership. People give us money, and then we run the show with the money that they've done and build these subdivisions. And they make us get this stuff called key man insurance in case something happens to us. And so I said, that's awesome. I said, I can sell houses, but how about if I sell you the insurance for the key man thing? So I got my insurance license when I was 19, and then I got my securities license when I was 20, and started getting investors for the developers to be able to do the developments. And then started, when I had enough money, I invested myself in a development. I did several thousand houses where we basically built, would buy land, subdivide it, turn it into lots, build houses on it, sell lots. And through the securities connection that I had for my license, I got introduced to buying and selling businesses that way. And so this was in the 80s when leveraged buyouts were really big. And I hooked up with Prudential Securities in New York, and one of the investment bankers there took me under his wing and, kind of learned how that business worked. And from there, I started buying and selling companies. And over the years, that's kind of evolved. I did that while I got my undergrad degree in accounting, and then I went to law school. I was doing kind of this stuff the whole time, and then got out and started practicing law, but never gave up on buying and selling companies. And because I did business law, I met lots of different businesses. So I had lots of opportunities to say, hey, don't pay me a legal fee. Give me a piece of the deal and let me show you how you can increase the revenue or profits in your company. And then as the internet came into being, along the way, I did 16 infomercials, 14 with Guthrie Ranker Corporation, 2 with KTEL Direct. I did a lot of spot TV, radio. As the internet came into being, I had deals with CompuServe, if you can remember back that far, and America Online for what they called channels. So I had one in health and beauty, one in motivation. And then as that, I used to spend, I remember spending like 50 grand to get a website up. It was just so expensive back in the day because you had to hire designers and they did everything from scratch and had to code it. And so I had some internet casinos. I owned betonit.com and makeabet.com. Had the Nikon school for photography, all kinds of crazy stuff along the way. And then in the 2000s, I ran into these guys that really seemed like they knew what they were doing online. They had really good content, and it was Ryan Dice and Perry Belcher, and they had a program called Wholesale Traffic System, where there was this guy, Mr. X, that Ryan interviewed. Mr. X was Perry, but they didn't tell you that. And I was like, these guys are great. I started following their stuff and bought it, went to the first Traffic and Conversion Summit. My idea was to connect what they were doing to the companies that you could buy and sell and increase the value of the companies by adding this online stuff, which is the same thing I did with Gary Halbert when I met him. And it was great. I joined their War Room Mastermind and just kind of helped them. I knew that I had to, impress them to get to know them. So they had this thing called Wicked Smart, where the people in the mastermind, there were only 20 people, voted on who had the best strategy that actually worked with results. And so I knew going into that meeting, I wanted to win that. So I won that. Perry came up and said, hey, let's have dinner. And he talked to me and we became friends. And then I just started advising those guys because I have a unique set of skills from attorney, accountant, business guy, investment banking, to be able to help business people. And for the first 3 years that I was a member of War Room, I just kind of helped them out whenever they needed help. And they had a CEO that ended up exiting the company who had an option to acquire a third of the company. And so when that happened, they said, would you be interested in buying in? And I said, absolutely. And became partners with those guys and then kind of help build that company up. We've had 3 exits in that group of companies since I joined them in 2013. And, all the other businesses I've acquired along the way, some of them I've kept, some of them I've sold.
Wow, it's amazing. So really, one of my questions for you was going to be how in the world, because I've known Ryan Dice forever. I mean, from the day I probably started off in the industry 15 years ago. And I was going to ask you, how did you end up becoming a principal at Digital Marketer? And so was it as simple as that? You were around them, you were buddies, you were helping them, giving good advice, they liked you, and then suddenly an opportunity popped up to buy in, and you just said, they asked you, and you said, I'm in.
That's it. That's exactly what happened.
Now, has there ever been a scenario in any of your businesses where it wasn't so organic, but you actually pursued and said, I want to buy in? Like in this situation, the opportunity to buy in came up, but...
Well, I intended to be partners with those guys from the beginning. So the fact that, it did not escape me that there was a possibility that in all of the help that I was giving, that an opportunity to become partners. And we talked about it, I think, as early as 2011. So, and then we started doing, I think we did our first deal at the beginning of 2012, and then we did an offer together. And so we bought a company together before we became partners. So my intent was to become partners with them. I didn't know what that would mean or if it would mean digital marketer or not. But, obviously that was something that I hoped would work out, and it turned out pretty good.
So you used some with micro action and commitments. I mean, it was you had a multi-year plan of getting into. I like that. It's strategic. It's well thought out.
I'm a long game guy, and it's always find a paid channel of access. The paid channel of access in that case was a mastermind. The paid channel of access for Gary Halbert was he had a $25,000 come down for 3 weeks and learn how to copyright, and I went down for 2 days, and then we ended up becoming partners on deals. It's just look for the opening that someone who you want to get to know has created in a paid fashion, because I think going in with value, if you go in like kind of begging, if you go in, you run up to somebody after they speak on stage and you're like, hey, I want to talk to you about this deal. To me, that just puts you in a pool with, 1,000, 10,000 other people. So I think that when you respect them enough to say, hey, I want to pay you to have the opportunity to talk with you. And so that to me is a great way to get in business. And it worked with Albert, it worked with Ryan Dice, it worked with William Shatner, and we just recently did the same thing with Richard Branson. So he's kind of next on my climb up list of people to work with.
All right, I want to dive deeper into this. I'm not going to let you get away with this so quickly because I think you've oversimplified it, and I want to break it down into the micro parts of the inception. So let's move into round number 2, which is not written down in my document here at all, but we're going to just we're going to swing for the fences here. Round number 2, I'm going to call it inception.
All right. The dream within the dream within the dream.
Yeah, dream within the dream. All right, round number 2. I want to go through let's walk through a physical example of this. So I am trying to think right now. I want to get in with, let's just say person X, okay? Or you know what? Let's use your personal example if you don't mind, like Gary Halbert, right? So he has a 25K program. Most people do. I mean, I know even for me, like I have an upper program that our students, our Learn Masters program, people can buy into and come 5 days. They're around me. I'm here. So here you are. You find the person you're trying to connect to. They have an upper level program. You've already made it clear. You put your money where your mouth is. You buy that upper level program, and you show up and you walk in the door. My assumption is other people are there alongside of you. You're not the only one there.
In Gary's case, I was there, but let's assume that I was not the only one. Let's say I'm at your place.
Okay, great. So you're not the only one there. There's other people. Walk me through like what you would do and how you would suddenly end up in front of this person, positioning them for a partnership or something bigger.
Well, you wouldn't go in with that. You go in with value. So the thing that most people do is they go in thinking in a program like that. You have a program that's $25,000, right? How many people come in?
So our program's actually 15, and we'll have at any given time about 100 people here for that.
Okay, so 100 people. Is that your highest level program?
That is at the moment, yeah.
Okay. Well, so we have to talk about that because you need to have a higher level program. Yeah. But for 2 reasons. One, because there are people that want to be in the room with less than 100 people. Mm-hmm. And 2, you will allow them to self-select as significant, serious potential deal flow partners for you better if you aren't around quite so many. So that's just something to think about.
Sure.
But so if I'm in there with 100 people, then I'm going to go in, unlike probably 99 of the other people that are there who are going in thinking, what's in it for me? How do I get a return on my investment of the $15,000? I want to be sure. I'm afraid maybe this was too much. Maybe Anik's going to rip me off. Maybe he's not going to pay enough attention to me. And I'm going to go in saying, what value can I bring to Anik as soon as I get in the door? What can I do to help him and his team? I'm going to be nice to everybody on your team. I'm going to be helpful to them. I'm going to overlook anything that you're not doing right. I'm not going to even point it out to you to be helpful because that's sometimes taken as incorrect. Not that in your case you would be doing anything wrong, but let's just say, if anything's not perfect, it's very easy to go in with the attitude of I am the customer, and I go in with I am the provider of value. And so the very first thing I'm going to be looking for, and I'm going to research before I go in, where are the potential things that I might be able to help you out with. Then I'm going to think about how can I help the other people that are in there, which will help make your experience with me and with them better. So in War Room, for example, and this isn't like a calculated thing, it's just to me the right thing to do. At War Room, I went in, I'm really good at organizing information and taking notes. So I took notes and I just sent them to everybody at the end of every War Room. I just sent all my notes to all the members, and people were like, "Oh my God, this is great!" Because I'll go in when somebody mentions a link or something. While I'm there, I'd put it in the computer, click on the link, look, find the thing that needed to be done, and so supplement the information that was in the room, but also organize it and give a lot of value. And then the people that were there, I remember the very first time there was one of the members. She had a challenge. We were at dinner that first night, just 8 of us I think went to dinner, and she was all depressed, and I was like, what's wrong? She said, well, I did this thing with my dad has like 60,000 insurance agents, and he trusted me to do an SEO program for his top 20 people, and the guy that was they paid us the money, and the guy that was supposed to do the work, she's like, I don't know anything about SEO. The guy that's supposed to do the work basically took the money and left, and now I'm screwed, and my dad's going to be pissed off, and these agents are going to be pissed off at me and him, and I was like, well, what did you need to do? And she said, I needed to rank them for, these words. And I was like, well, I can do that. I said, how many of them are actually giving you a problem? She said, like 8 of them. I was like, okay, so give me their areas and their keywords, and I'll rank them for you. And the next day they were all ranked. And she's like, what do you want for that? And I said, nothing. I want you to be happy and not worried about this jerk that ripped you off. And it took me literally, 4 or 5 hours in the middle of the night, because I don't sleep. I'm a vampire, and I did it for you. And now you've got it, and, enjoy. And then she ended up later on, just to kind of the pay it forward thing, she obviously was very grateful for that. And she ended up starting another company and referring a ton of business to me and giving me all kinds of opportunities. Another guy that was there asked me if he could interview me for his dentists that he provided information for. And I was like, absolutely. And after the interview, he's like, man, I really appreciate that. And this was before podcast, everybody wanted to be on a podcast, right? It was kind of like a favor. And he's like, I really appreciate that. The stuff you talked about was so cool. I appreciate you answering all their questions. Would you mind if I got, like maybe 12 of my dentists to pay $25,000 and come put them in a room with you for a couple of days, and we'll just split the money? And I was like, no, I wouldn't mind that. And then we did that. And at the thing, he's like, oh God, he's like, none of these people want to be dentists. We have to be able to offer them something. I said, well, I can show them the 4 things that I'm doing right now to, that are really successful and working for me. And he's like, that's great. He said, what do you think we should sell it for? And I said, well, if they paid $25,000 to be here, it probably should sell it for $75,000. And then 5 of them bought that. And so it's like, and this is just my first interaction with all this stuff. So I get to, I would go into your thing saying, how can I serve you? How can I serve your team? And how can I serve your other members? There's 3 groups of people in your meeting that I'm going to be focused on. What can I do for them? And then I'm going to do it. And I don't expect anything to come from that at all. What I believe will happen over some course of time, it's a long game if you do it right, but is that if I provide a whole lot of value to you, your team, and your people, then if I want to be in business with you, there's a pretty good chance that I'm going to get your attention. And then I'm going to find some opportunity to ascend out of that group of 100 into some sort of joint venture or some sort of speaking arrangement or something where I have the opportunity to just hang out with you and spend a little bit of time. And then organically it'll evolve or it doesn't. I just, nothing is forced. If I had identified an agenda in advance, like I did with William Shatner, we had a program that I was trying to think of it was called Hire Yourself. We had a program called Hire Yourself that was for seniors that we wanted to do. And we wanted Shatner to be a spokesperson for it. We wanted to write a book with him to promote this program and have him be the spokesperson, but we didn't have the money to hire him in that company as the spokesperson right off the bat. So we said, why don't we have him speak at our Traffic Conversion Summit event, which we did in 2013. It was the first year I was a partner. And that was new because we'd never had a celebrity before. And we negotiated the price for that. But the event, that came out of a different bucket. That came out of the event bucket budget. So then part of the deal was, and always has been with everybody we've hired since then, is it's a 4-hour contract. You appear for 45 minutes and then we hang out. We have lunch or whatever we're going to do, but we're going to spend some time together. And I'm hanging out with him. We have lunch. And then in the green room, everybody else is on stage and it's just him and me. And, he's like, talking to me about this stuff. And he was like, eventually he said, I should probably get you to help me with my next book. And I said, you should. And I never expected to hear anything else from him. And then he asked me for my number. And then maybe 3 weeks later, I'm driving down the road with my wife in the car and my phone comes on. I don't recognize the number. I answer it. And he's like, Roland, Bill Shatner, just following up. I want to do that book. And we ended up doing it. So,
that's crazy.
And then in that, from a negotiating standpoint, just because this is one of my favorite terms, is he wanted he's like, well, my standard advance is $500,000. So, obviously you guys will pay me that, and then we'll do this and this and this. And I said, everything sounds great, Bill. I love it. The only thing is the way we do these deals, it's a deferred advance. And he's like, what's a deferred advance? And I say, well, it's an advance. You get the first 500,000 from the sales of the book. We don't give you a check for 500,000. And he was like, okay. So I was like, that's cool. Deferred. So I put the word deferred in front of everything now. It's like, people want a down payment. Absolutely. I will give you a deferred down payment of this much amount of money. Wait a minute. What's a deferred down payment? Well, we'll give that to you, after 30 days or at the end of this or when we run that offer. And so that's a good example of just strategically thinking about what's the paid channel for access that exists. How can you add value to them first? And then, see what evolves from it. And by the way, if nothing does evolve from it, you can't be pissed off about that. That's okay. You still added value.
I mean, if you do that 4 or 5 times, one of them is going to pay off, right? And that's probably going to pay off to cover the other 3 or 4 that missed. And so that's awesome. It's funny, as you're talking, I realized someone just did this to me very recently. And so I released a podcast episode. Anyone listening, you probably heard it recently. It was how I made $200,000 in Toronto in 2 weeks. And so it's funny because the 2 members that came to our master's event, which is a $15,000 event, Shazad and Renee, got involved. And then they got involved in a higher level program we have, which they didn't pay for. But I'm not even joking. They served the team. They helped the members. They weren't in front of me ever, except there was this, the whole group surprised me with a check for my nonprofit. And they all donated a bunch of money to my foundation. And these guys came up to me afterwards and said, we're going to throw in another $2,000 into your foundation just because we're so grateful for what you're doing. And I was so grateful for that. And then a week later, they positioned me and said, we'd like to get you up to Toronto to speak. And we're going to put an event together for you. And here's the thing. I don't know why I said yes. I actually say it in that podcast episode. I don't know. I don't say yes to speaking agreements. Like, I don't speak anymore. I don't like to travel to speak. And I said yes. It was total inception. I'm like, oh, of course, because there was so much reciprocity, I guess, that was built up.
Yeah, exactly.
And not only did I agree to speak, Roland, you're going to laugh. I agreed to speak twice in the matter of 2 weeks. I was going to go up and do one event and then go back again to do a whole one-day event.
Nice.
And but it ended up making everybody a ton of money, and I got a chance to hang out with them a lot, really liked them, and now we're going to do real estate investments together. So it's damn, I got Roland Fraiser right into that's awesome. I don't even think they know it. I'm going to send this episode to them, but it works, and it's all for good. I mean, it was all great. It wasn't anything malicious or anything. And I can tell you, Roland, that I've done this. So yeah, as I was saying, it's amazing because I've also done this to people, right? Like, I've connected with some of the top people in the world, and I've been blessed for it. And people ask me, how do I do it? But it's kind of what you just said. Like, it's to a degree of like, find a way to get to serve them in something that they really want. I love it. I want to move on just because I have so many questions, and all my rounds are getting totally screwed up because, as we talk, more and more stuff coming. Oh, it's fine. I love it. Okay, so I want to talk more specific. So let's move into round number 3, and the round number 3 is more about like, what do you exactly provide these companies? So, okay, so round number 3. It sounds to me like you pretty much know the kind who it is that you want to work with or get involved with, and so they're on your hit list. You got a list over there, and you start to find your opportunity to move in with them. So now for a minute. I'm Ryan Dice, okay? So look at me, I'm Ryan Dice, and you come and you provide value to War Room and to Digital Marketer. Give me a little bit of a better example, not even Ryan Dice, but like across the board, there's so many companies that you've had. What is it that you have? What kind of advice do you give them that is so magical that they immediately want to give you equity? Because I can talk to you as an entrepreneur, someone who owns all of my company. I mean, it's like the heart. You can ask for pretty much anything but shares of my company, like most entrepreneurs would feel. So I'm curious, what do you provide that is so significant that they immediately start throwing, shares of their company at you?
It's a good question. So every deal is different, but what I am really good at is growing companies and finding the strategic opportunities that will move levers to dramatically increase the revenue, customers, profits, and valuation of the company. So I will come in and say, I see 4 opportunities that would have a pretty significant impact on the value of the company. And I'm also very good and connected at getting capital and at getting companies to buy other companies. So if you're interested in selling your company in 3 to 6 years after building it up to, say, 10 times the value that it is right now, then I have a track record of doing that. I have a good system for doing that. And, that's my skill set. So I'm really good at identifying strategic relationships that will give you exposure to large new audiences that you don't currently have exposure to. There are ways to position the company. There are things within the company that can have a dramatic impact on the value of the company, and then putting the deals together, acquiring other companies to help build up the company as well. Structuring, I know in a deal that we literally just closed last week, I saved us $1,050,000 in taxes just because of how the deal was structured. So those things are generally valuable to people. How to get your company to be worth more, how to make more money, how to grow into new markets, and how to think different. Ryan said it, so I'm going to quote Ryan, not me. But he said, I want to bring my partner in on a deal we just did. He said, I want to bring my partner in because he just thinks bigger than I do. And I don't think as big as a lot of people, and I'm always pissed at myself for not thinking bigger, but I do think pretty big. And so I think differently about things than other people do. And I also have the experience both on the accounting and legal side from doing hundreds and hundreds of deals as an attorney to know how to do a deal. And so, when you get into the negotiation thing, we sold 80% of Traffic and Conversion Summit to Clarion Events, which is owned by Blackstone, which is the largest, I believe, private equity company in the world. And we got the highest multiple they'd ever paid for an event. It is just something I'm good at, that whole negotiation, exit, buy companies, grow, thing.
Got it.
And also, I'm also good at walking through the fire, because as an attorney, you're not afraid of, I don't like conflict, but I'm not afraid of it. So if the shit hits the fan, then I'm pretty good at working through that, not panicking, and then kind of getting things worked out.
So there's something to be said about being able to provide all this strategic value, the network, the connections, the knowledge. All of what you're saying, though, just to be clear for everyone listening, it comes with years of experience, right? It's because of raw knowledge that you've built over so long. So for someone, I guess, an entrepreneur that's new or that's young, they just don't have access to that. They just don't know that stuff. And so they can either try to pay you your quote or give you a share of the company, and just know that then you're really vested in it because you own a piece of it. And
and like I said, usually that happens over time. I don't do consulting, so nobody can buy my time. I don't think you should ever sell your time unless you want to do a dollars for hours thing. So I basically say, my time, I will help everyone that I know as much as I can for free, even when they're offering me money. Like, no, I don't want money, because then you've bought my time. I don't sell my time. I give my time to the companies I have equity in. And so if you want more of my time, and I think it's a good opportunity, and I see that the company can get to the valuation that I need it to get to meet my objectives, then then we can talk about an equity thing. So I have I have really good relationships. I knew Ryan and Perry for 4 or 5 years before I became a partner. A deal that I just did, I knew one of the guys for 6 years. Another deal I just did, I knew them for 4 years. So it is absolutely, I'm not like going out cold and I meet you after one meeting and say, why don't you give me some of your company? But here's what I know. If you have a vision for growing your company and selling it, you'd be kind of crazy not to do a deal with me, because you're going to make so much more as a result of having me as a partner And I know that, and you can ask anybody that has done business with me and they'll tell you the same thing. So that I've got going for me. But remember, I've been doing this for a long time. So if somebody else wants to do this too, it is as simple as starting to offer value to those three groups of people that I mentioned. Look at yourself, not at what you're going to get out of it, but what you can give. Even when you're the paying customer, what can you give back? And then looking for opportunities, saying no to all the opportunities that aren't once in a lifetime opportunities, because I think the once in a lifetime opportunity comes along 3-4 times a year, and you need to have your bandwidth preserved to be able to do that. You need to also, ideally, as soon as you get your income covered, stop trying to get income and start focusing on building wealth. And that's a big mistake that I see, especially in the information entrepreneur area that people make. They're focused on, how can I get enough money to have my Lamborghini, or how can I get enough money to pay the rent on my jet? But that's not wealth. Those are, number one, depreciating assets, assuming you even buy them, and you don't even own them if you're renting them. But there's nothing wrong with them as long as you're building wealth at the same time. So does that help at all?
It helps a lot, actually, and it walks us right into round number 4. I do want to talk to you about, so what we're going to move into now soon is you kind of creating a strategy for me, knowing where I am, my access and all. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, so I'll have some, rapid fire questions for that. But you talked about wealth, you talked about income, so I'm going to change it up there, and let's go to round number 4. We'll talk about compensation. Okay, so round number 4, I'm going to ask very bluntly, how the heck do you make any money?
I make my money as a member of whatever, or as an owner of whatever company I go into. I'm on the same par with the other people that are in there, so I receive distributions of the profits that the company's making.
Are you shooting for that, like dividends and distributions, or are you shooting more for the big sell at the end?
No, I want the exit.
Okay.
Yeah, because here's the thing. The way to think about it is to think about companies sell for multiples. So you have 3 different types of multiples that a company can sell for. If it is a one person show, then it's typically going to sell, and there's no systems and there's no big team or anything like that. It's typically going to sell for SDC or SDE, which is basically seller distributable cash, which is the amount of money that you took out in the last 12 months. So the example I like to give is, it made $5 million. You took $1 million out. It's going to sell for $1 million. Okay. It's going to sell for what you took off. If it is more systematized and you have some managers and you have predictable selling systems and you have standard operating procedures, and no one client makes up more than, say, 20% of the company's business, and that sort of thing, then it's going to sell for typically a multiple of profit. And profit is defined as EBITDA, earnings before interest, depreciation, taxes, and amortization. So that $5 million business with $1 million in profit, or EBITDA, will sell for a multiple. And let's just pick an average and say it sells for 7. So now that business is going to sell for 7 times $1 million, or $7 million. When it does that, you earned 7 years of income on that exit. Imagine if every 5 years you sell a business for a 7 multiple. That means over a 20-year period, you had 4 sales at 7 times your annual income, which means you made an extra 28 years of income during that 20 years that you would not have made if you had just held on to the business. Now let's go to a subscription-based business like a SaaS, a software as a service company. Those businesses with monthly recurring revenue or annual recurring revenue will sell for a multiple of net sales. So in our case, the same numbers, $5 million, $1 million of EBITDA, that's going to sell for, let's say, a 7x on top line, or $35 million, 7 times 5 million. So the difference in those 3 companies was, as a solopreneur with no real systems and stuff, even though you're making $1 million a year, you got $1 million, 1 year's income. Now that's gone. With the kind of together company, but you've got one-time sales, no monthly recurring, you haven't really built a subscription kind of thing, that's going to sell for $7 million. Now you've made 7 times your annual income. And like I said, you can stack that for a few years. It makes a difference. Now you start selling those companies that are selling for a multiple of sales. I got $35 million. That's 35 years a generation that I would have had to have worked to earn that money. So to not sell is kind of crazy. But now think about if you're an investor and you own a portfolio of companies. Let's say that you only own 5 companies. Now you're selling on average every 5 years. That means if you own 5 companies and they sell every 5 years, basically every year you're getting multiple years worth of income. So you make so much more money selling than you do just holding, unless you happen to own Facebook or Uber or something like that.
Yeah. And just to be clear for everyone who's watching, I remember one of the quotes you said to me during the pre-interview, which I loved, is you said your goal is to never end up on the org chart. So you don't have an active daily job in any of these companies.
I do not.
So mostly it's advisory roles. So whenever you're needed, as needed, strategic meetings, helping point the direction. But then after that, you do let the management team of the company take over.
Yeah, the management team is always running the day-to-day. If there's special projects like an acquisition or a divestiture or a strategic relationship or something like that, then I'll take that and run with it. But or if there's some litigation that needs to be overseen, but those are things I'm good at, but they're project type things.
Sure.
So I'm not the day-to-day. The company has to have its own people, because if it doesn't, we can't sell it.
Yeah.
And if I'm in it, we're going to sell it, but I'm going to be selling me too, and I don't want to sell me.
Yeah, no, it's true. So I have a quick question regarding this valuation. That was really cool. You were giving kind of the 3 ways that companies get valued. So with Lurn, what we're building towards, the closest example to it, so we're not building a subscription base necessarily, but we're definitely on the road to building a company that's not Anik Singal brand and not selling only Anik Singal products. I think the closest example I could tell you would be more like a Udemy. However, we are more specific. So we want our coursework to be specific to the entrepreneurship space, and we're more selective. So we're not an open platform. Not anyone can publish with us. So we try to keep the quality a little bit higher. How would a company like mine, and we have courses that range from $1 all the way up to $2,000. And so what should I be looking at? Like, what are some metrics I should be focusing on to get my valuation as high as possible? Would I be looked at as more of a SaaS or as more of like a company number 2 that you talked about?
Do you own the content?
I'm sorry?
Do you own the content, or are you publishing other people?
No, we're publishing other people.
Okay. And then how is the content delivered?
All of a custom developed LMS platform that we created. So we load it into the program or onto the site.
Okay. And then how do you charge people for that? How does the consumer pay for it?
It's a la carte. So depending, like, it could be as low as, like I said, $1, or it could be as high as, a couple $1,000s.
Yeah, so you're not too different from how Digital Marketer was when I came in. Digital Marketer was a publisher like that, and they paid a royalty to the people whose things sold. And the average multiple for a company like that sells is 0.91 times sales. So if you are making $1 million in sales on that platform, let's say 10 million. If you're doing $10 million in sales on that platform, then it might sell for 9.1 million. So what I would do is what I did with Digital Marketer, which is we'd go in and we'd say, okay, number one, let's look at the multiples of, let's say, what are companies like ours selling for? And then we say, what are all the kinds of companies that, like what could our company be? Our company could be a publisher. It could be an educational company. It could be a SaaS. It might be like a combination company. If it's in a particular market, it might be like, if it was real estate publishing, it might be a real estate company. So I'd look at all of the types of categories that the company might fall into, and you're pretty much going to fall into publisher now. And I'm going to look at the multiples that those companies sell for, and then I'm going to say we need to reposition the company towards the highest multiple, because just what you told me is that a publishing company, as you are currently structured, would sell typically for 0.91 times sales, but a SaaS would sell with recurring revenue would sell for 6.36, I believe, times right now on average. So you would get 600% more for your company if you move to a monthly recurring revenue model from the one-time sales, or what we call static income that exists right now, simply by refocusing on that. You've already got a custom LMS, so that's great. So that's another potential thing that could be a revenue provider for the company. But just as is right now, the very first thing I'd say is those one-time sales are going to kill your valuation. So I'd be looking at how do I deliver that on a subscription basis.
So how does someone like you, Demi, get such a ridiculous valuation? Because they're probably worth a few $1 billion right now with 26 million, or I guess now 30 million users. Do you have any idea? Like, are they just doing a free user valuation model? Like, we have X number of users?
I don't know their model or valuation. I'd have to look at it to see. But like generally, the buyers that are out there, the market says we value. Think about it this way: anything that reduces the risk of the buyer in giving you a bunch of money is going to help them feel more comfortable giving you more money. So if you have to go out and sell people again and again and again every single time, that's harder. That's a greater risk than a track record of hundreds of thousands of people who've paid you a certain amount of money continually for several years every single month, right? So they're going to give you more for that. So if Udemy was a subscription model, if it's not, and they had low churn and good customer generation and renewals, then I think they would be valued at more.
Okay, got it. No, it makes a lot of sense. Cool. Well, let's move into round number 5, and this was going to be fun. So I want to kind of put myself on the spot, and let's see what we come up with. So round number 5, Roland. I want to invest in deals right now. Fortunately, I've been able to accumulate some wealth. I could have done a heck of a lot better. So if I had learned more of what I know now 10 years ago, geez, I wish I did, but it's okay.
That's for all of us.
No Monday morning quarterbacking, right? I'm learning it now. And I'm definitely looking to do more investments. And I love the entrepreneurial business and specifically the market that we're in. And so I'm just curious, how do I go about finding deals? You kind of know me, you know what I know and don't know, who you kind of travel in similar circles, but I guess you could have at least a general idea of the kind of value I would bring to someone. But how would I go about it, and what would I do if you were me right now?
Yeah, well, you probably already have good deal flow because of the business you're in, as far as identifying companies that are like yours and in the industry. So the very first thing is just to simply say, hey, I'm an investor, not I'm a CEO, I'm an investor. So let people know that that's something that you do, and you'll have people start to say, hey, I'd be interested in talking with you about my company. And then also make an effort with the kinds of companies that you would be interested in investing in to get to know them and get to know the people that are operating them. And if there's a particular niche that you're interested in, like if you're interested in CBD, or if you're interested in crypto or something like that, you would want to start networking in that area and offering them the value, because you've got a ton of value. I've seen the stuff that you do, and product launches and stuff like that. You do great. You've got a tremendous amount of value to bring to anybody in any industry, especially the one you're in. The best industry to invest in is always the one you're in.
Yeah.
And so I think that those deals will start percolating up. In the 100 people that you've got, there are probably opportunities like the folks in Toronto that you did the real estate deal with, right? That's a great example of how do we get to know each other? How do we, now you've got this platform of the 100 people that come to your mastermind. Within that, if you make those people aware that you did this deal with the Toronto folks and you're interested in doing more of that, then they will feel comfortable coming to you. Because a lot of times those people are a little intimidated. They're like, well, you're the guy, and I don't know if you'd be interested in my stupid little $8 million business. And you're like, well, I'd totally be interested in your $8 million business.
Yeah, that's true.
And they, you already have the authority and positioning. They know that you're going to bring the value, and then you just say, well, before we do anything, let's see if there's an opportunity. Tell me about the business, and then give them some help and give them something they can do, and see if that actually helps them. When it does, then that's a good first step. Then the next step is, I think, ideally, is there some sort of joint venture kind of thing you can do, which is great about you going up and doing the event with the Toronto folks. And then after the joint venture works or doesn't work, if it doesn't work, it's almost better, because then you've seen how does it work if we lose money together. If you can be with somebody that can lose money and still be friends with you, then that's a golden person, right? And then you move into the next step. So I think you've already got a platform that most people would really be envious of, because you've got access to people who are successfully moving forward in all of their businesses, and that's pretty valuable. I mean, that's something like investment bankers salivate for. So I definitely would be thinking about that. I will say also, as you're looking at investing, the evolution that I've had in how I invest over the last several years has been, I really want to look at companies that lend themselves to multiple exits. So coming in, for example, to Digital Marketer had media through Digital Marketer. It had an event, which I know there are buyers for, through Traffic and Conversion Summit. It had a sponsorship company that sold sponsors to the events that was separate. It had an event management company that handled the logistics for that. It developed 3 separate SaaSes, Praxio, DMHQ. Praxio is our LMS, DMHQ, and acquired True Conversion. And then we had on the other side, the company had multiple e-commerce properties that Perry ran through Survival Life, et cetera. So that company going in, I saw there was the potential for 6 or 7 exits. And that's kind of fun, because you can exit one, use the money that came from that to take some chips off the table, but then let the sale finance the other companies. And if you get lucky, like we did with Traffic and Conversion Summit, the deal itself, the sale of the deal, brings in a high dollar partner that then funds something through one of the companies that benefits all the others. So for us, we sold Traffic and Conversion Summit, the event, but now as we do geocloning and go into Amsterdam and Russia and Brazil and all the other places that Clarion is expanding in, and they're funding the expansion, Digital Marketer gets additional clients. A War Room Mastermind gets additional clients. Praxio gets additional clients. The event sponsor company gets additional sponsorships to sell. All those companies are growing, funded by the footprint of the geoclone from the acquiring company, Clarion. With the real estate company that I just acquired an interest in, it's a brokerage, and it has the ability to have multiple exits too. It's got a title company, a mortgage company, an escrow company, an appraisal company, et cetera, et cetera. So the layer on, to me, like an additional layer of sophistication is, you're not only looking for one-shot exits, you're looking for multi-threaded exits that can go and feed each other, and that the buyers of those things can then help add additional value, which means you don't have to raise capital in those ancillary companies, which means that you can sell them for a whole lot more without giving up any of the equity. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. That was awesome. Yeah, it makes complete sense. And yeah, I mean, as you're talking, I'm already thinking of a few particular people and some things. For now, I'm definitely very focused on Lurn, but there's at least a couple of people that I think if I were to go into their businesses, I believe without a shadow of doubt I could double or triple them pretty quickly. And I think that would vouch for a discussion of getting ownership in those companies. Cool. So I want to do this. I forgot to ask you a really important question, so I'm going to make a round for it itself. Round number 6. All right, so hold on. Round number 6, basically, I forgot to ask this. Like, this was what blew me away in your introduction, and then I got so, distracted with other stuff. 330. So you gave me this bio a couple months ago at Max, okay? And in that time, you went from $337 million of sales to $4 billion in a matter of, so what the heck happened? How did you do that in a matter of a couple of months?
Yeah, it's different companies. I acquired an interest in a company that's doing $4 billion.
That's awesome. Man, that's awesome. So you continue to just, now, Roland, when you do this, are you acquiring an interest in all these companies by paying for it, or sometimes are you working out deals where your equity is sweat and just your intellect?
Yeah, most often it's not. Once you get up into companies that are doing tens of millions of dollars, it's very difficult to just get handed a big chunk of equity. So most of the deals that I've done lately have been investments as well. So I'm coming in with capital. We agree on a valuation, but the valuation is way, way, way low compared to what we all know the company is worth. And that's the favor to me, is to give me a discount, but it also provides working capital for the company, usually more than not, that it needs to do the things that I'm talking about we need to do. So if I'm coming in and I'm like, well, we need to do this, this, and this, and it's like, that's going to cost, $1.2 million. So fine, I'll put in $1.2 million for my equity. You give me a valuation that's really favorable, and everybody's happy.
Wow, love it, absolutely love it.
But I will say, just for everybody that's listening, most of the deals that I did before, that's in the last 6 years, I've really come in to say I want higher quality companies that are farther along, and those have all required capital. But before, everything that I did was straight. I get equity, and it might be that we baseline it. So we say you're making $2 million in the business right now, so the first $2 million in profit is yours, but we're 50-50 on everything over the 2 million until we 3x the revenue, or 3x the profit, and then we're 50-50 on everything. So there's never, I'm coming in saying, I want to take money away from you that you've got. Right.
No, I got it. That's awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to move into our last and final round, which is a selfish one again. So here we go. Round number 7. Now this one, Roland didn't know is coming. I'm totally blindsiding him with it. And that is, Roland, from what I'm hearing from you, from what I've read from watching you, just your Facebook and just talking to you, it seems like you have this knack for coming in and just giving companies advice to help double, triple, quadruple their revenue. And it's funny because when we were talking, you said, hey, do you have a $25,000 program? And I said, no. And you said, well, we better talk about that. And the truth is, I'll tell you the truth why I don't have a 25, because people petrify me. And being in a room of people that have paid me $25,000, where it's that intimate environment, usually will actually scare me, because I can't sit in one place. I get claustrophobic, and so I've never done it for that very reason.
Growth occurs when you are least comfortable.
Touche. See, right there. He just challenged me to do that. You're absolutely right. So I was going to ask you something that a lot of our listeners who are maybe publishers or digital product sellers or information marketers or whatever term we want to use, obviously you've had so much experience with digital marketer and helping them in every way, and without, of course, violating any, trade secrets. If you were to give me, let's say, 5 tips as a information marketer, or things to add revenue right now, like things that I could go out and do to add $500,000, $1 million, or a few $1 million. And I've seen you've made the post. You made a recent post. It was like a couple weeks ago. It was really interesting. It was a long one where you wrote all specific things from your journey and all the trip. But yeah, give me. Let's spitball a little bit. Give me a few ideas. If you were a partner at Lurn, what are some things from the outside that you know?
So just generally, and so that I can go through the post, which was 4 steps, if you like, but just generally, it's going to be look at your analytics and say, is my price right? If I lower my price, will more people come in and then see my back end offers that generate a higher lifetime customer value, or even a higher immediate average order value? That would be one of the first things to look at. Then I would say, are you matching your highest converting front ends to your highest profitability back ends? So are the things that are generating the most customers on the front actually showing those customers the things that make you the most money in terms of, depending on your objective, profit, margin, or gross? Then I'd say, can you expand internationally? Are there product extensions or new products that you could sell to your existing market? Could you sell your existing products to extended or new markets? Could you change your model to monthly recurring? Are there cost centers right now that could be profit centers, or points of entry into your funnel that you don't know right now? Are you maximizing all your cross-selling efforts? Who are the strategic partners that you should have that already have giant groups of your existing customers? Are you selling physical products in addition to your digital products, because physical products typically increase conversions on digital products? Are you increasing margins by selling digital products on the back of physical products, because that also tends to increase margins? Have you considered franchising? Have you considered licensing? Have you considered geo-cloning? Have you considered outsourcing to reduce costs? Those would be some off the top of my head.
I stopped writing after 5 because you were going so fast, so I just decided I'll go back and listen to the episode again. But that was
I'm sorry.
awesome.
I was just trying to give you some.
No, are you kidding me? You don't have to say sorry. I got a recording of this thing, man. I can go back and listen to it as many times as I want. That was so epic. Roland, it's been so powerful, and I really appreciate your time that you took away from your family, from your business, to share some inside secrets for entrepreneurs. I think most entrepreneurs out there dream of exactly a scenario like this, where they can have multiple companies. And for me, it's like you get to play in the world of companies, right? Because it's so many different companies, so many different challenges, so many different things going on every day. It's something different, and you get to play with that. You get to profit from that. I love the quote where you said, stop building income once you don't need it anymore and start building wealth. It really resonates with where I am in my life right now. And so it just really played a role for me. Before we go, Roland, I'd love for you to, how can people follow you, connect with you, learn more about you, and, dream of having you invest in their company? Where would someone go to find you?
Sure. I have a podcast also called Business Lunch. So I interview smart people like you as well. So that's a good place where we talk about a lot of this stuff. Digitalmarketer.com for our training. trafficandconversionsummit.com for our big event. We'll have 10,000 people there in March 31st, April 1st and 2nd of 2020. It should be fun at the San Diego Convention Center. Or online for me, I'm RolandFraiser.com, or any of the socials, I'm /Roland Fraiser.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Listen, everybody, I highly, 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 highly encourage you to follow Roland. If nothing else, just stalk him on Facebook, and his posts. They're fun. They're awesome. You learn a lot, and you get to just see really cool hotel rooms all over the world that he brags about how he got into for like pennies on the dollar. So
that's the game. That's fun stuff.
Yeah, that is the fun stuff. And maybe we'll have him back one day to talk about that and how he travel hacks, because that's fun stuff for entrepreneurs too. I actually applied his technique for the first time at the Ritz in Tokyo, and it was awesome. I got $700 in free money. I couldn't even figure out, I never told you this, Roland, I actually couldn't figure out how to spend the damn thing. And at the very end, we were running around the gift shop just buying stuff because I had to spend it. I got a weekend for free. I got 2 upgrades. I paid less than the price of the regular upgrade. I don't know what was going on, and I followed his model to the T. Now that I've sold that, enough people are like, what you doing? You got to go find it. He's got awesome posts on his Facebook wall, but basically it's about how you use the Amex Platinum or Centurion benefits and kind of all of that stuff. But anyways, in a future episode, Roland, thank you so much, guys. Go to RolandFraiser.com. Find him on social media, digitalmarketer.com. Go to Traffic and Conversion. Make sure you're there at the summit and connect with Roland. Roland, thank you. Everybody, AnikPodcast.com for the show notes. Go back and listen to this again if you want. On YouTube, come on. Roland just took away so much of his time to be with us. Let's show him some love. Leave a comment. Click subscribe. Click the bell icon. Click the thumbs up icon. Let's spread this message to the world so we can inspire more and more entrepreneurs. Come on, Lurn Nation. And remember, go to Lurn.com, Lurn.com. Sign up for your free account. We got tons of amazing resources at Lurn, including free courses and including a lot of courses that you can get in for just a few dollars. If you're ready to start your education or ready to continue it, get in there right now. This is Anik Singal telling you right now, what do I always say? When life pushes you, stand straight, smile, and push it the heck back. Come on, fighters. I'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to The Fighting Entrepreneur with your host, Anik Singal.